Hello everyone and welcome back to Ruby Lessons in Code Academy. So today we're going to be building a program that's going to crypt our input or encrypt our input. So this is more going to be on cryptography than really programming, but we're going to learn how we can make programs that actually do cryptography, because to do cryptography you do need to know programming so that it can be much simpler. So if you do know quite a bit about cryptography, then this might be quite simple for you. And along with it, we will learn some programming. So let's get straight into it. So this is the program given to us. This is what we're going to be building, or something similar to it. I'm not really going to go into too much detail right now, because we have 5 lessons after it to learn what it does. So what we will be building is a program which is going to hide information, and this is because hiding information is a major part of programming. So protecting passwords, establishing secure connections, and securing programs against tampering all rely on controlling access to information. So if you look at like the link to a website, if it has the S after HTTP, it means that it's secure. You can search up SSL or secure socket layer to see what it is exactly. But if it has an S, it's secure, and the connection is encrypted between the communication of the client and the server. If it doesn't, it means that if there's somebody in the middle that wants to intercept it, they can see what you're doing. Normally, every password does use secure socket layer or password communication. While we won't be able to really dig into information hiding until after we cover hashes. So if you know what hashes are, then great, we will probably be covering them later on in the course as it says here. But for now, we are not going to be talking about hashes that much. So yeah, that will be covered in a later course. For now, we can though write a simple program to change a user's input with the tools we have now. Arrays and iterators, which we have learned quite soon. So hit save and submit code to test our Redactor program to learn how to build your own. So redact, when I search it up in the dictionary, means to edit, and I believe that's what it means in this context as well. Text to search through. Hello, my name is... There we go. Word to redact. Let's see what happens if we do this. What do you think will happen? So if I look at the program, what I think will happen is the word Mihai is going to be replaced with the word redacted. Let's press enter. And good, that is exactly what happens. Hello, my name is Redacted. Good. So let's move on and see how that program achieves what it achieves. Getting the user's input. So we have learned this before. First thing first, we'll need to get the user's input, because what's the use of encrypting something if we don't have what to encrypt? Use the puts prompt to prompt the user for input 2 times. For the first time, puts declare a variable called text and set it equal to the user's input via gets.chomp. For the second, puts declare a variable called redact and set it equal to the user's input using gets.chomp. So we'll have 2 puts. I will actually put that and that. Puts, please. So what do we need the first time? We need please enter your text. I'm just going to call it text for now. And it wants us to call it text. Oops, not text, not test, text equals gets.chomp. I'll just copy this line over. And instead of text, I will change it to redact. Puts. Here I want to ask for please input the word you want to redact. There we go. Hopefully I'm spelling everything correctly. If I'm not, it's going to tell me, or you guys are going to tell me in the comments down below. Okay. There we go. Good. So we've just gotten the input. Quite simple. We haven't done anything with that input yet. Moving on. The .split method. Next, we'll want to divide the user's input into individual words. So, if you've been following my Python lessons in Code Academy, then you will probably know what split does. But for those of you who are just tuning in to programming or just starting off by learning Ruby, then let's see what split does. Next, we'll want to divide the Ruby has a built-in method for this called .split. It takes in a string, and returns an array. So the array it returns, so if we pass it a bit of text in parentheses, .split will divide the string wherever it sees that bit of text, called a delimiter. So for example, if you have text, where text is a string, .split with a delimiter of comma, or the string comma, and it's just one character in this case because it's all between two quotation marks. What we're looking on is just the comma. Tells Ruby to split up the string text whenever it sees a comma. So, for example, if you have the string, if this is your string, I just ignore the spelling because that's not important. What you're going to get is an array which is going to have two elements. The first element is going to be hello. The second element is going to be space. So space, my name is, and misspelling of my name. So those are the two elements that you will get. If I put a comma after each word, then I will get an array which is going to have the word hello, space my, space name, space is, and so on. You can make this string as long as you want, or as short as you want. So if you don't have any commas, then it is just going to return an array with just one element. And that element is going to be the original string. So let's actually use it for in our case. Declare a variable called words, okay? And set it equal to the result of calling .split method on text. So text.split, and for now we are not going to have anything because we haven't read on. Pass .split a space, which is, so if you want to pass a space, you'd put a space between two quotation marks. In Python, I know that you can just leave it like this, and because by default the default input is this. But I am going to try that in Ruby just to see what happens. To use a delimiter so that when we get an array made of the word, so it splits up at every space. So let's see what happens if I just do this. Is it going to give me an error? No. So also in Ruby and in Python, it's the exact same thing. If you don't pass a delimiter, then the default is used, and the default is just a space. You can, however, put a space in there just to be sure, which is what I'm going to do, just to be sure. Okay, and there we go. Let's move on. Redacted. Alright, time to break out our iterators to go through the user's text. So, now we have this array, but we want to remove the word that we want to redact in this case and replace it with redacted. So how do we make that happen? So the example above, this example here, just serves as a reminder of using .each on the letters array. So .each, as we learned in the last lesson, I believe, it just goes through the list and gets the each element. So in this case, letters, we have these. It's going to take A and call it letter. So letter is going to be equal to A in the first case. Then it's going to be B, then it's going to be C, and then it's going to be D, and then it's going to end. Just a reminder. So instructions, let's start simple. Write a .each loop and .each loop, whatever, that goes through words and just prints out each word it finds. So okay, we're starting quite simple. Words.each. I will open a curly brace because, as we remember, you can do either the do end or the curly braces. I will pass it pipe of word, and for each word I'm going to print word. And it says print, not puts. That's quite annoying, but oh well. That doesn't have any effect for now. So as you can see, what's outputted is the same string that I entered without the spaces. And that is because I am going through each element without leaving a space. So here I'm going through each element without leaving a space and printing it then afterwards. Ignore this array here for the same reason that I've mentioned many times. Codecademy just adds it on for some reason. So let's move on. Control flow know-how. So good, there were two problems with our output though. So we realized one, no spaces. We didn't have spaces between our words, and our program didn't actually replace the word we wanted to redact with the word redacted. So that's quite a big problem. That was our main goal. So we can fix that with some if-else magic, which we learned quite a few lessons ago, and this is why I said in that lesson that if-else, else-if are very important to know about, because they're used on an everyday programming basis. So the above example just reminds us of how to use it. We do have an end. I am just reminding myself there. Instructions: add an if-else statement inside your .each. So these are our instructions of how to do that. If the current word, so if word equals the word to be redacted, redacted, to the word redact, then print redacted. There we go. Space. So notice the space there. I am going to add a space myself with that extra space, as it says later on. And then we will have an else over there. Print word plus space. So in this case, you are getting the word which is currently being selected by the .each and adding a space after it. Don't let the plus sign confuse you, it's just get the word and put a space after it. Just know it as that for now. The extra space in both cases prevents the words from running together. But there's a slight problem with this that I have just noticed. If it's at the end of the string, you are going to have an extra space. So even though you haven't entered an extra space, there is going to be an extra space. Let's see whether they actually fix it. Oh, what am I doing wrong? Check hint if you need. Oh, right, I need the end. Of course I'm going to forget the end. There we go. Good. Let's remove that. Okay, I will come back in a second. So the problem is you just need to delete this line here. This line. Once you delete that, everything seems to work fine. And just to show you that, as you can see, it does. So, as I was saying before, there's an extra space here, even though I haven't actually entered an extra space there. But that's all it wants us to do for now. I will fix it in just a second after I read what it has to say here. Perfect. Feel free to mess around with your redactor to see what sorts of results you get. Think about the following. What could you do to make sure your redactor redacts a word regardless of whether it's uppercase or lowercase? So you can't just .lower the whole string, for example. How could you make your program take multiple separate words to redact? You can get an array input with a while loop. How much might you make a new redacted string and save it as a variable rather than just printing it to the console? Well, instead of printing it like this, you can add it onto a new variable and then print the final variable. So now let's fix what I was talking about before. Once it reaches the end of the array, you want to get rid of the space. So what you can do is simply remove the last character of the input. But to do that, we have to work with this step first. So I will add a new variable called redacted string. At first I will start off with a blank string. So how you define a blank string is just like this, just two quotation marks together. And each time, instead of printing, I will do redacted string plus equals word plus that. So I'll put that in parentheses just in case. Plus equals that. And then I will print redacted string. So if I do that, I should get the exact same result as before. Okay. Where am I printing the extra step. I'm printing something more than I should be. So I was printing the extra words because of the reason that my puts or print redacted string was inside of the loop. So if it's inside of the loop, it prints after each time I add to it. So if I run it now, you will see, oops, okay, let's do this as well. You will see that I get the exact same result as I did when I was just printing the words here. So instead of redacted string plus equals, I had print replace this whole string, or this whole thing, not string, this whole thing. But now I'm adding it onto this. Now to remove the last character, so as you can see, there's a space there, and a space is always going to be a last character because you're always adding a space. To do that, there's a new way, which we're probably going to come across once we start working with arrays more closely. You can do redacted string, oops, string dot slice exclamation mark so that it does it straight away on the array, and you can do -1. So if this is basically the index that you're looking at, -1 is always going to be the last index, 0 is going to be the first index. If we do that, you will now see that that space is going to disappear. So let's just prove that. And there we go. As you can see, now there is no space left after the redacted. And that is exactly what we want, because now this is more closely related to the original input. So don't worry too much if you don't know what this does exactly, because we are going to cover it in later lessons. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you learned something new, then please give me a like, share and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, you didn't learn anything, or if you didn't improve in anything, I don't know, then give me a dislike and tell me in the comments down below why you disliked it so that I can improve for next time. But until that next time, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.